So I was the chief of staff to the Attorney General at the time. So we were basically in the ROC, the command center, both pre-landfall, during the storm, and in the immediate aftermath. And it was pretty crazy time. From the top down, everybody knew that this was the type of event that we've never experienced before. So everybody was really on their A game from the governor on down. We had armies of FEMA folks that were there, along with other different federal agencies. And everyone worked really well together, addressing the issues that we knew were going to come up, things like sheltering, evacuations, and then also addressing some issues that maybe we didn't anticipate, like gasoline shortages and things like that. Everyone really working together to try to help the folks of the state. I think so. You know, you can never really prepare for or anticipate every single issue that's going to arise, but we definitely had the framework in place to address the issues. You know, there were certain things that we had never experienced before, so in that sense, you know, it was new to us, and perhaps it wasn't in the playbook in terms of how to respond to it. The one place where you know, we're making investments post-Sandy is making the towns more flood-proof, making regions more flood-proof, which is something that, you know, requires a big investment of money. And so it's a constant process of you know, enhancing the berms and dunes and beaches and things like that to make them more flood-proof in the future. So in the immediate aftermath, the few weeks afterwards, we were working with the cabinet and the governor at the AG's office, addressing legal issues as they arose. And so these were legal issues impacting the Department of Health, impacting state OEM, impacting DEP, doing emergency procurements to bring in debris removal contractors. So you name it, we were in the middle of it trying to facilitate very prompt legal advice to address those types of issues. In approximately 3 weeks after the storm hit is when the recovery office was first opened up, and the governor asked Mark Furzan and myself to lead that effort, and you know, basically started an entirely new office to address the long-term recovery from Sandy. So the first things that we really did was we reached out to states that have been through this before, particularly along the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, and then some states that have been through this more recently, Iowa being one that comes to mind, and asked them about what worked for them, what didn't work, you know, to try to incorporate some lessons learned from prior disasters of a similar size and scope. I think it's seeing the human impact, you know, the impact that the storm had on your everyday folks, and you know, we had public hearings in the most impacted communities, and you know, seeing the stress you know, that the storm put on the families, having to deal with juggling mortgages and rent and repair costs and rising flood insurance, really took its toll on a lot of folks. And we created a lot of health and social service programs to try to address that, but ultimately, you know, it's a really difficult thing for anybody to have to deal with. I think the buzzword for the recovery as a whole has been resilience. And the federal government looks at resilience in terms of building back better and stronger and making sure that events like this don't happen again. But really, I think where we saw it, boots on the ground, was the resilience of the folks of New Jersey who, you know, have gone through this extremely traumatic event, and they're able to bounce back and persevere and continue to move forward day by day as they recover.